Hello, everyone. So sorry to announce that I will shorten your coffee break. My name is Antoine. I'm a PhD student at INSA Lyon in France. I'm supervised by Ludovic Moncla and Frederique Laforest, and today I'll present you a work in progress linking language efficiency and spatial relations. And starting with spatial relations, I invite you to have a look at the 4 drawings on the left-hand side. Each scene depicts a relation between two objects of the world we can see or we can touch, such as the apple in the bowl, the ring on the finger, and so on. And the first question is, how are two mental representations born out of our perceptual system? And what I call similarity data, we'll see later, act as a proxy to such a psychological space. Moving on to language, today we will focus on a cornerstone of spatial language, is spatial cognition, and that is spatial adpositions, which are famous for being highly prone to engage spatial representations and are considered as typical markers of such relations in the discourse. And here you have the average preferences of English speakers when they're being asked to describe the 4 previous scenes. And as you can see, in is preferred for one of the scenes, whereas the preposition on for the 3 others. And well, French speakers actually partition the semantic space in the exact same way. But Dutch speakers rely on 4 different prepositions. And we just came across three instances of what we will call naming data, which are typically descriptions that are elicited in the frame of controlled experiments. We also saw two different linguistic encoder, and by that I mean the mapping from meaning to words. But we can also imagine a lot of different encoders, a lot of different partitionings of the semantic space, which are hypothetical, which are do not correspond to attested languages. So today our research question is the following: can we rank encoders, attested and hypothetical, in terms of efficiency? And I will as quickly as possible introduce the information theoretic accounts I will use to define efficiency. So the information bottleneck theory has been introduced, has been applied to language in the major work of Zaslavsky, Kem, Regie, and Tishmi in 2018. And it also relies on naming data and similarity data. In this framework, the encoder Q is a stochastic encoder, which means that the mapping from meaning to words is probabilistic. What also probabilistic is are the mental representations we have in mind. They are probabilistic assumptions we make about the world and we talk about. A first important quantity is the accuracy. It measures how much relevant information about the world, about the stimuli, is carried by the words. For example, in bits. The second important quantity is the complexity, and this characterizes how the mapping from region of the mental space to the words, how complex it is, also in bits. The higher the accuracy, the better, but the lower the complexity, the better. IB then defines efficiency of a linguistic encoder as the various trade-off achieved by the languages in training of accuracy against complexity. And a nice way to understand this trade-off is what we call the information plane. So the plot of accuracy against complexity. On the left-hand side, you have a first schematic encoder, which minimizes complexity since it relies on a single term for the 4 spatial scenes. But it also comes with no discriminative power when partitioning this semantic space. Whereas the second encoder on the right-hand side maximizes accuracy, but comes with a burden of complexity since it has 4 different terms. And we now have evidence for efficiency when describing color chips. We also have evidence for efficiency when describing human gait. when watching videos of people running, crawling. Yeah. But neither spoken nor written language has been considered a valid stimulus. So I invite you to consider the sentence emphasized in bold. Il grimpait dans la mâture. He was climbing in the mast. Maybe when reading the sentence in the novel it is extracted from, you might eventually represent the protagonist climbing in the mast as represented in this engraving. And well, translation data allow us to compute such to look at the efficiency when describing such when being presented such written stimuli. So consider the source sentence "Il grimpait dans la mâture" and specifically the spatial relation evoked by the French preposition dans. The corresponding mental representation is then encoded in the target language, and more specifically with the English lexical item in. And this summarizes pretty much the proposal I'm presenting today. So this is maybe the most important slide. Consider now we have 400 or 100 different source prepositions, each evoking its own unique mental representation. We're interested in how translators partition such a semantic space. So provided a model of the psychological space of spatial relations and translation data, can we rank attested and hypothetical encoders in terms of efficiency? So for that, we need naming data and similarity data. I will just briefly present the data we used. So we relied on English, German, and Serbian translations of the adventure novel Around the World in 8 Days, which has been aligned at the sentence level and released as such in the corpus called En 80 jours. Starting with the naming data. In our case, naming data are simply alignments of French prepositions with English one, French with German ones, and French with Serbian ones, for example. Getting such alignments do not represent much technical difficulty, but was time consuming since we manually checked the alignments produced by LLM in a prior step, yielding three alignment tables. Moving on to similarity data. We first propose a very simple computational model. So we need a model that can predict the pairwise similarity between any pair of French preposition, and we propose to use the cosine similarity between contextual embeddings of French prepositions. But this model is maybe too simple. So we designed and conducted a polysorting experiment with a subset of 30 French preposition in their sentential context. This allowed us to train a very small model to predict the pairwise similarity. And it turns out that such a model correlates much more with the polysorting results than the cosine similarity, yielding, for example, similarity matrix as on the right-hand side. We have now both naming data and similarity data, so we can have a look at the results. So you now have the information plot of attested languages depicted with the green stars and 300,000 random hypothetical translations depicted with the gray stars. And we observe that attested translations lie way closer to the optimal frontier than hypothetical ones. But to further investigate if this is a feature of reasonable encoders, we generated 30,000 perturbated translators by increasing the rate of permutation within the alignment tables, so 1, 5, and 10 persons. And results indicate that as the degree of the perturbation increases, the efficiency of the hypothetical encoders decreases. This is the distance to the optimal black line. This visual observation is quantified by the deviation to optimality. And I will jump directly to the conclusion. So these are preliminary results in line with the results we have in other semantic domains. but they are for the moment restricted to the spatial relations in the frame of translation. Interestingly, we observe that human translators do deviate from optimality. This is an interesting question which lies at the crossroad with translation process research. Of course, in the frame of translating an adventure novel, stylistic incentives probably play a huge role. And interestingly, this new methodology for IB analysis is allow for scalability to bigger bitexts, which is our current objective, but also to other semantic domains and other linguistic forms than prepositions. Interestingly, also, we did not design the meaning space prior to the experiment, unlike many IB analyses, since we, for example, do not invoke notions such as static relations versus dynamic ones, or containment relations versus support ones. So this is a key aspect of this new methodology we propose today. I would like to thank my colleagues for taking part to the pie sorting experiment. I would like to thank my supervisors for preparing this talk. And of course, I thank you for your attention. And I will maybe take your questions at the coffee break.